Welcome back to RC Modify. My name is Ramon and this is part 3 of my Arrma Kraton build. We are going to be replacing the spur gear to the 39 tooth spur gear that is provided in this roller. Since I'm going 1-to-1 gears, I have to switch out the spur gear to match my pinion gear. Okay, so here goes nothing. First, we have to undo these braces. They have clips in them, so we're going to undo those first. You have to pop out the pins. Okay, that's the front. That top rear one is tough to get out. Okay, that was a little tough. Got all the cross braces out the way. They are held on by body clips and pins that go across. There are 4 pins that you have to remove on each side. 2 pins up top, 2 pins on bottom on each side. I have to invest in some brighter lights. Okay, so now that those are removed, there's 4 screws that I need to remove underneath. Okay, I changed the camera angle so you guys can get a better look. I removed the cross braces that were on top. They're secured with these body clips and pins. You'll have to remove. They're a little bit tough to get at. I used a small pair of little skinny needle nose here to pull off the clip so I wouldn't break my tethers. But now there are 4 screws that hold this transmission in place. So we're going to flip the truck over and remove those 4 screws. Well, will you look at that? There's my Arrma Skins Rage chassis protector. That looks good. All right. So there's 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4 that hold the transmission in place. We're going to remove those. Not even that tight. Oh, put my hand underneath because I feel it falling out from the bottom. Okay, the 4 screws are the exact same size, and they are a 4mm hex bit screw. Okay, let's flip this thing back over. Okay, so here's the transmission. Okay, I'm gonna set the truck off to the side now so we can just work on the transmission. So we have, looks like these 3 2.5mm screws that we have to remove. Okay. Okay. So there's the motor mount. And now we have to remove the shroud. And that's a 2mm. 2 screws. 2 2mm screws. Did I grab the wrong one? Oops. 2mm. You can see the spur gear which we're replacing right there. See, basically they had a bigger spur gear, which would have gave you more torque, but with a smaller pinion, you're just going to go slower and have a lot of torque. I'm going to go with the smaller spur gear and the equal size pinion because I'm running a 780 kV 56 112 motor, which is going to have a ton of torque. So I don't need the larger spur gear to help me create more torque. The motor is going to provide the torque. Okay. No difference in the way it goes on. Put the bearing back on and put the lock nut back on. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't back out. That would suck. Okay, we're going to put it right back together how we took it apart. A lot of this is composite plastic. You don't need Loctite. You only need Loctite on the motor mount because you're going to be going metal to metal. So only 2 screws at the bottom are going to require Loctite. You can tell by the holes. It all lines up. Okay. Actually, you want to leave the shroud loose until you tighten up the motor mount because the motor mount goes over top of the bearing and in between the shroud. So let's back that out a little bit. Yeah, you can see right there, see there's there's a recess area in the motor mount for the bearing, and it kind of slides underneath that shroud. So there you go. That's a much better fit. Even though it's tight coming out. Okay, let's tighten up the motor mount first, then we'll go back and tighten up that shroud. Okay, the spur gear is changed, and see your center diff is spinning inside there, so everything's working. I don't know if you can see that, but so far I'm satisfied with that. Let's bring the truck back over and pop this back on. There is a seal that goes around the bottom of this. It is stuck to the bottom of the truck. The grease kind of kept it on there. We'll get that back on there before we screw it back together. Okay, I can move these out the way. Done with those. And let's get that truck over here. Okay, this is the seal I was talking about. That needs to go back on the bottom of the transmission. All right, let's get that back on there. Okay, it's not going to fall out now that it's there. Okay, now let's set this back in place. Put the drive shafts back in. You might. Okay, I think it's in. Hard part was lining up the drive shafts. Try to line up the screws from underneath so when I flip it over it won't fall over. Alright, so I reached underneath and I started the screws. So when we flip the truck back over, we won't have the drive shafts pop out. Only 2 screws are good enough. All right, I'm going to flip the truck back over and we're going to button it up. Actually, I am going to put the rear screws in first. So I'm going to remove the ones I just put in because those are going into metal and we want to put Loctite on those. The ones that go into the composite, I'm going to have them hold the transmission in place so we can remove those screws that I temporarily put in. Okay, so we're putting in the 2 rear screws in. And then we're going to pop out the 2 front screws so we can Loctite them in. And then after that, we just have to put the braces on. Okay, we're using blue thread locker. Pretty much think of it as screw glue. It's going to keep your screws that are screwed into metal from backing out from vibrations and from twisting and everything else. So you only want to do this on screws going into metal. If you do it to screws going into plastic, you might not be able to get the screw out. Okay, that transmission is mounted back in there, and we just have to put the cross bracing back on, which was a lot of fun to get out. So those are in. Just gotta come around and put all these body clips back in, which don't think you guys need to watch me do that. But that's pretty much how you install the spur gear and the Arrma Kraton. And it's probably the same for, I mean, this is an EXB, it's probably the same for the regular Kraton. Okay, so the spur gear is in. The bracing's on. All of the clips that hold the pins for the bracing are in. You definitely, no matter how hard it is, make sure you get those clips back in, or else your pins are going to back out and your bracing is going to fall out, and on those big jumps you're going to bend your chassis. So make sure you get that back on. I'm going to draw the body back on this for now and close this one up for tonight. Now at this point I have to build the servo saver and install the electronics. So it's almost ready. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night. Bye.